Here's a message to all my boomer friends out there. If you've been living in Canada from 2015 to 2026 and you're still voting for the Liberals, after billions of taxpayer dollars have left our country, after scandals and chaos, unaccountability, if you're still voting for the Liberals, you could be eligible for a mental disability tax credit.
I want to ask all the Canadians a very, very simple question. Why oh why do we keep voting for Liberals again and again? Why are we showing this support for a party whose policies have brought Canada to the brink of disaster? Am I making stuff up? Am I being hyperbolic? No. Look around you. Is Canada going in the right direction? And you still end up voting for the Liberals. Canadians, the ones voting for the Liberals. Why? Tell me, just tell me why. Why oh why do you think that the party that's been in power for so long, after giving them so many chances, why do you think we should nominate them again? And what if, and it looks like Canada is not on the right track, if you're going to tell me that the Liberals have done a great job so far, I don't know what planet you're living on.
The last Canadian election was almost a year ago now, and it's still insane to think about how, after over 9 years of Trudeau being in power, the Canadian population still voted in the Liberal Party to be in power. And I don't think there's any better explanation for why Canada is doomed than that.
Do Canadians understand the definition of insanity? Because the way you guys vote sucks. How are you going to fight to remove a political party from office and then vote that same party back in? It's like California. No matter how bad it gets, you guys are going to vote for the same thing and expect a different result somehow.
You know, I'm not a conspiracy theorist or anything like that. I just call it the way it is. I'm a working guy and blah. But how do you kick out a prime minister for having failed policies and a budget? I think it was $58 million when he got kicked out. People were screaming. Look at Freeland. She resigned. Why? Who knows? But now you elect a prime minister, and now the debt continues to go up. Like, I mean, skyrocketing. It went from 50-something million to over 70-something. We're at $2.2 trillion debt in Canada. Why? Can somebody explain that to me? Can somebody explain to me how we kick one prime minister out for having a high debt, and the next prime minister is 2-3 times and we're celebrating? How do you celebrate the most debt in Canadian history?
We've got a huge new poll in with even more gains for the Liberals, this time from Canada's most accurate pollster. Since the last Leger poll, the Liberals have gained 5 points, increasing their lead over the Conservatives to 14 points. So with the Liberals getting nearly 50% of the popular vote, when we model that out, that turns into a massive House of Commons lead of over 150 seats. Now I know I'm going to get comments about how this poll was rigged, but Leger is one of the most well-respected A+ rated pollsters. In the last election, their poll predicted 43% of the vote going to the Liberals, and it turned out to be 43.7%. They're very good at what they do. They surveyed 1,627 people, which is statistically significant. I don't need to explain that to you. Look it up, which equates to a 2.43% margin of error. This is just another data point showing the Liberals rising in popularity, but I want to hear what you guys think about this poll. Let me know down in the comments.
Welcome back to the channel and thank you for tuning in. Now, everything that is literally happening in Canada right now, Canadians are pinning it on Liberals. They're saying Canada is on a brink of disaster because of the Liberals. Because of these Liberals' votes, we are struggling in Canada. Because of the Liberals, everything is not working in Canada. It's like a sinking ship. Canada has just, the decline in Canada is inevitable. Canada went downhill and it's changing drastically since the Liberals came into power. And this conversation, it's a very hard one because also everyone, as I always say, has got their own skeletons in their closets. But for this one, Well, I think the stone has just reached the Liberals. Let's watch what Canadians have to say. And it's quietly seemed like these people are blaming the Liberals on all sorts of problems and disaster that is happening in Canada. Let's watch, then we shall be talking about it.
I think we just witnessed one of the dumbest moments in question period history today. Watch this.
It's no surprise that Canadians are challenged with buying homes right now when there's a war in the Middle East.
He didn't even believe the words that were coming out of his mouth. He said them, and then he went, Even he was like, what am I talking about here? And I even think Canada polling put this whole situation in the most simple but comical way possible of how dumb this sounded. So, Trump bombs Iran. Iran bombs the Gulf states. Trump bombs Iran again. Iran mines the Strait of Hormuz. Canadian housing minister says, well, of course young people can't buy homes. Look at the Middle East. Incredible. And that has just summed up the past 10 years. They say it's a new government. We know it's not. Blame somebody else. It's always someone else's fault because when things are not going well here domestically. It was Donald Trump. It's the Middle East wars. It's climate change. It's racism. This is what they give you every time, and it's just been something different over the past 10 years. And sorry, we're going to light you up. We're not letting you off the hook on this one because this is straight up stupid, and we're going to let you know how stupid it was, and we're not giving you any leeway or good faith on this one.
At this point, Canada, we're the land of the foreigners. We care more about foreigners than we care about Canadians. I don't know how people can continue to see things like this happen, yet they still vote for the Liberal Party. You have young Canadians who are sad and depressed entering the workforce because they know home ownership is a pipe dream unless they get help. This is not normal. You have people that have children that are in their 30s, 40s, and 50s that are struggling to get by because the bills keep piling up. Everything is getting more expensive. You continue to flood this country with foreigners that are taking jobs. So now you got to support your younger children who can't find a part-time job as a teenager or as a young adult. And then you have older Canadians that can barely get by on their pension because it doesn't cover the cost of living. And while all of this is happening, Canadians are struggling. You have foreigners here that are leeching off of the system. They get all of the social benefits. And that is not how it should work when you're coming to a country. When my grandparents came here, they had to work. They had to contribute. They did not live better lives than Canadians when they first came here. And that's how it should be. The people showing up now, half of them are living better lives than Canadians who have been here for their entire life. What kind of country is this where we prioritize newcomers over people that have lived here their entire life and their families have lived here for generations? And when you call out this stupidity, they think you're the nut. They think you're the one that has hate in their heart. No, I have a brain. That's what that's called. Not hate. It's called the brain. And this is unsustainable. Canadians deserve better. This is a joke. And our country is just going down the toilet with policies like this.
The Liberals did it, y'all. Within the last 3 weeks, they have rejected not one, but 2 motions to reform our broken bail system that has allowed dozens and dozens and dozens of violent offenders to reoffend while out on bail and harm Canadian citizens, right? Here's the thing, guys. The Liberals want to play politics. They want to say, oh, there's a couple things missing in here, so we're going to clean it up, add 1 or 2 things, and then call it our own, and then we're going to take the credit for passing the bill. Meanwhile, there are lives in danger. The Liberals care more about playing politics and who gets the credit for what than actually keeping you and your loved ones safe. That is not responsible government. They need to go now.
So did you deliberately mislead Canadians when you made your budget announcements in not including those billions of dollars that you have since spent?
I would say we presented an investment budget to Canadians, a vision to 2030, and I would say I'm just surprised by the tone and nature of your question because the 12 million Canadians, would you suggest that we should not help Canadians at the time of need for food and grocery?
I would suggest you could help Canadians by spending less, by not having such an incredibly large deficit.
But would you suggest that it's not a Canadian value to help each other in times of need?
I would suggest it's a Canadian value to stick within your budget and to be honest about the amount of money that you are going to spend.
And when you have the fiscal capacity, like the IMF said, would you suggest that a country of the G7, which has the fiscal capacity, will help people who need it?
The IMF is not in the grocery stores of Calgary, Midnapore, seeing Canadians take groceries out of their cart and put them back in the aisle, Minister. Now, Minister, early on in the Prime Minister's
Calgary,
leadership...
Midnapore that will receive the benefits.
Hold on, order. Just
sure they're not going to be very
points
proud.
of orders. Yes, Miss Yip. So.
The Minister isn't able to have a chance to respond.
Well, he was. I mean, if you're going to interrupt with a point of order, Ms. Yip.
That point of order, Mr.
I'm going to reset, Ms. Kuzi. You have 1 minute to go. Mr. Champagne, Minister Champagne, you will have the last word. I do turn to the witnesses for a last statement anyway. Brevity, though, being the key word. Once the time is elapsed, Ms. Kuzi, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Minister, early on in the Prime Minister's leadership, you were proud to call yourself a partner, and you said that the two of you would be a mighty economic team. Is doubling the deficit what you meant by a mighty economic team?
I would say there's very few people in the world who would question the credential of the Prime Minister as a good steward of the economy.
So he made you do make these
and I would
decisions
say
to double the deficit.
Not
That's what you're saying.
only me, but if you look at I want you to bring in perspective, because the people of Calgary, Midnapore that are watching, I just want to understand that thousands of people are going to receive the grocery benefit. Are you saying it's not going to help them? Because I'm missing
saying if
that.
you reined in your spending, that's really what would help them, Minister. But if you focused on the things that would allow them to pay less for groceries in the first place, that's truly what would help them, Minister.
And the structural measures so we can grow more food and have more abattoirs in the country so that we have more food production, more food security. You don't think that's important for Canada?
I think that's very important, and I think the best way that you can do that is by reducing the tax burden on them by spending less.
Carney's government is silently failing us, and they are too ashamed to admit it. Liberals may be up in the polls, I'll give them that, but Carney's popularity is becoming increasingly disconnected with how he's actually governing the country. It's insane that the Canadian government had failed to inform us about the attack involving Canada's section at the Ali Al Salam Air Base on March 1st, and it had to be confirmed by La Presse. Even if no soldiers were harmed, the Canadian people have a right to know if we were affected by the Iranian strikes in the region. It's only common sense. Canada also lost 84,000 jobs in February, taking the unemployment rate back up to 6.7%. From 6.5. This mainly affected men from ages 25 to 55 and youth from 15 to 24 in the private sector. This is insanely worrisome and is indicative that the Canadian economy is buckling under the stress of soft austerity measures, external shocks, and a stagnating real estate market. And how about his environmental policy? Well, sources are saying that Carney's environmental strategy will use market-based solutions to fund nature initiatives rather than direct public funding. And you know what's strange? This goes against the entire thesis of Carney's book Values, which challenges the perceived wisdom of market mechanisms to solve global issues like climate change. Hiding behind the great speeches and foreign visits is a pattern of silence, technocratic messaging, and incrementalism that is replacing the systematic change and transparency Carney alluded to after the 2025 federal election. The value of patience is not lost on me, and maybe things do change, but Canadians right now are paying for the brunt of the fall magnanimity of this administration. And Carney's promise about being direct with Canadians about the problems we face during the speech announcing his plan to resolve the tariff crisis is being lost to the annals of history.
Saw a TikTok this morning that said that the majority of Canadians over the age of 55 support the Liberals. And that doesn't surprise me one bit, because if you're over 55, you'll remember some things. You'll remember the miserable years of the Harper government where they were just slashing everything for the sake of tax cuts for their wealthy connections. They were on a weird, bizarre social agenda, racist social agenda, talking about old stock Canadians and having racist tip lines to out your neighbors if they were doing something that was un-Canadian. It was ugly. The only thing that did protect us during that time was our independent Bank of Canada, right? The Bank of Canada is independent. And I remember, if you've been around a long time, you remember Mark Carney sitting there beside David Dodge, who was a great governor of the Bank of Canada. And then Mark Carney taking that job over. And of course, we're old enough to remember that under Paul Martin as the finance minister, we had a balanced budget. And that, again, was something Mark Carney had his hand in. And then most of us who are older recognize the value of education, right? Lots of young people, it's been sort of devalued in the last few years. You've got these right-wing male podcasters who talk about, who devalue education. Well, You know, I'll take a person with a PhD from Oxford in economics over someone who took 8 years to complete their BA at the University of Calgary and then never held a job in the private sector. You know, it just is so clear for me and for most of the people who have been around that the best interest of Canada is served by making sure that that Mark Carney remains our prime minister. So yes, people over 55 overwhelmingly supporting the Liberals doesn't surprise me as a person over the age of 55. I've been around, I've seen the damage that the Conservatives do, and I get the very clear sense that the current Conservatives are seriously and significantly worse than any Conservatives we've had in the past, because these are not progressive Conservatives, right? Remember, they actively made the decision when the Reform Party basically took over the Progressive Conservative Party. They actively made the decision to get rid of the word progressive, to eliminate it and just call themselves conservative. And that is because of the freaky Christian conservatives that were in the Reform Party didn't want to be progressive. That's the reason. So yeah, makes perfect sense to me that people in my age group and other people who have been around and seen at least 5 decades of life in this country would be supporting the Liberals over the Conservatives.
You know, everyone has got their own personal opinion and their own favorite political party, either liberal, conservative, like in America, MAGA, Republicans, Democrats. We all know that. Every party has got their own supporters, and the current one that is leading in Canada is the Liberal. And the Liberal Party has been in leadership for the longest time. And according to Canadians who have been watching very keenly, they've realized Canada has went downhill since the Liberals came into party. Nothing is literally working for them. And I don't want to say that I'm a conservative, I'm a liberal, I'm a Republican, Democrat, I support MAGA. No, I just see things at a different perspective. And here's my perspective. Liberals are the ones that are leading right now. Their policies are the ones that people are living with right now. If they say let's go east, majority of people will go east. If their policies say no more immigrants, Canada will see no immigrants. If their policy says put Canadians first, Canadians will be considered first. If their policies say, well, groceries need to increase or decrease in prices, we'll start seeing significant changes. If their policies say, well, we need to solve this housing crisis in Canada, we need to fix this homeless crisis, our medical system needs to work even if it's free, veterans needs to get benefits, not just being offered maid, all these sorts of problems in Canada needs to be fixed as soon as possible because these people are paying taxes. All this will happen. What am I saying? The Liberal Party that is leading is the one that is creating policies that Canadians are differing with. And these policies, Canadians say they should work on policies that favors Canadians. Let's say, for example, Canadians are struggling. High cost of rent, high cost of living, inflation. You see, groceries are like a luxury nowadays in Canada. All this could be solved if their taxes that they're being taxed could be used to actual work. But now what the Liberal does, for example, they don't consider putting Canadians first. They consider putting other countries first. They send billions of dollars in foreign aid. They send billions of dollars overseas. The other one being, the latest one being, they aided Ukraine with over $2.5 billion. They gave Indian students 100 million in scholarship, yet Canadians need this. You see, these are the kind of policies that Canadians are differing with. It's not like the Liberal Party is bad. The Liberal Party just needs to sit down and revise their policies and work for the people, because the people are the one who voted for them, maybe, who elected them. So they need to come up with policies that will start seeing actual work rather than just policies and nothing yet is being implemented. You see, when this is done, people will stop complaining. People don't care about liberals or conservatives as long as actual work is done. Because even if I'm a liberal and the policies does not favor Canadians, it won't eliminate me. It won't say that these policies are affecting only conservatives or only non-voters or those who don't care about politics. If they set up a policy that says we are putting Canadians first, it will benefit a conservative, a liberal, and any other party, and any other Canadian, not just a party. So if they come up with policies that affects people, it will affect the liberals who voted for them too, not these politicians. You all know that. So all I'm trying to say is that we can stop all this blame game. The liberal can just carry the weight of saying, now we've listened to the people and the people have complained enough. Now it's time to put politics aside, whether liberal or conservative, and let's just start working for the people. And how is that going to work? By just putting in policies that will say, yes, we are putting Canadians first. But then don't forget, that's just my personal opinion. Tell me what you think in the comment section, because remember, Canada and liberals, this is not meant to attack you. It is just meant to remind you that unless there is will to change, there will be no change in Canada. And change will only come when these people revise their policies. No one cares if you are a liberal or a conservative. These policies are the ones that we are looking onto right now. Until then, that's what's supposed to be done. But tell me what you think in the comment section. What are your thoughts? Do you still blame the liberals? Because I keep on seeing people saying, keep voting liberals. We shall all suffer under liberals. I mean, all of those comments in the comment section, the blame game goes on liberals. And when people speak, something surely needs to be fixed. See you in the next video, guys, after subscribing.